So I'm going to start off this opening with one question. If you see one, two, let's take two, and you see things that are being shown to you, coincidence? How about if you see three? How about four? Is it all still just a coincidence? Huh. See this $50 bill right here? And even I was skeptical when I first heard about it and saw it, but when it all started to become clear to me and the picture became a perfect view, then I am a believer. So watch and you'll see what I mean.
Black logo. See it right there above my mouth? Very obvious. Let me take you a little closer, just in case you can't see it. See that right there? A fifth grader could see that. Cadillac logo? Sure. Cadillac logo. But I really don't know why. So I found that.
So, what he's talking about...
Oh, but I know why now. I didn't even then. But after I started piecing this whole story together, starting from uranium, the military-industrial complex, to the Hoover Dam, to the ancient gods, it all became super, super clear. But there's a couple more pieces I want to show you.
Cadillac display we saw, the spinning of something, right? Then a wormhole, right? There's the spinning. There it goes. Then it turns into a wormhole.
So, can you guys see it right there? Do you see this Coca-Cola display right here? Back in the early 2000s. And you see this Cadillac emblem is not even supposed to be there. And there is a hood of a Cadillac right here. See it? It's right below there. But you can't see it right there because you actually need to see the picture. So let me show you the picture. There you go. See it? Do you see there's the display, the Coca-Cola. There is the wreath. There is the Cadillac emblem. And there it sits on top of another Cadillac. And there is the grill with the emblem. So you have a $50 bill that has the imagery of the Hoover Dam with a Cadillac emblem there down at the bottom of the Hoover Dam. Then you have the Hoover Dam has a light projection show with a wormhole that opens up behind the Cadillac emblem and the Transformers emblem. Hello, are you following with me yet here, everybody? And that Transformer Cadillac emblem opens up and there is a wormhole. So considering, okay, that you're seeing this Cadillac right here at this display, then surely there should be some kind of connection with this New York display and the Hoover Dam, right? Let's see. Okay, here it is. And there, let's see it.
Welcome to 1904. Enjoy your journey back.
So, did you guys get a good look at the wormhole? Did you get a good look at the very beginning of the sparks of light, kind of like electrical pulses going in different directions, right? Before we get back to the Hoover Dam with the
Gravity. But what do we know about the stars? Orion, the great hunter.
What do we know about the stars? Orion the Great Hunter, he says. Boy, are you guys going to love the presentation that is going to be coming up. Not just the first segment, because the first segment is kind of, it's not so shiny and brilliant. But once we get to the parts where it's really going to shine, it's going to shine the brightest. There have been so many clues that I found in the Transformer movies, and before anybody says you get your facts from movies? No, I don't. I get my clues. And as I will tell everybody again and again and again, the clues were all there for 9/11 when they happened, and no one even knew they were there until after the fact. And now that we know exactly how they operate, we have seen clue after clue after clue. And this one here is no different. And finally, right here, I'm going to show you a picture here. Let me just show you a picture of, if I can find it here real quick. Hold on. This is a Cadillac Escalade steering wheel. And what happens in the movie Transformers, Samuel Witwicky is running with the Allspark, and he runs right into the Cadillac emblem with the Allspark. And remember, do you guys remember that the Allspark was being housed in the movie right there at the Hoover Dam? So now we got all of this stuff with the Hoover Dam, the $50 bill. You have the light projection show. You have, in the light projection show, you see a time wormhole open up behind the projection. Coca-Cola, they have the light projection. And there is a Cadillac emblem that it was purposely placed underneath the Coca-Cola sign. We know that because if you look at the movie I Am Legend, and if you look right there in New York, you'll see that the Coca-Cola sign where that was being, that whole light show went on, the car beneath it and the Cadillac emblem are not there at any time other than for this light projection show. Is Coca-Cola all part of the corporate structure that goes on in this United States? You damn right they are. All you have to do is look at their CEOs and other people who have been in positions of power in Coca-Cola, and you'll see that they have been to Bohemian Grove. They're part of the secret society system. And, well, I find it interesting when I look up exactly what is the whole Cadillac emblem about. And we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at that here real quick. But before we do that, here it is, Cadillac Escalade. Only its steering wheel transformed into a creepy transformer with spider-like limbs. Anybody here see the video that I did about Bohemian Grove and how there is an owl on the placard and there is a belt that goes around the owl, and around the owl it says, "Weaving spiders come not here." When you look at the golden orb weaving spider and the genus that it is called the Nephila, which is the Aramaic word for the constellation Orion. So what you're seeing is Orion's belt around the owl and weaving spiders come not here. So, now, does something that is relating to the constellation Orion now going to be relating to what's going to be going on at the Hoover Dam? Could it be? Damn right it is, and I can prove it. And if you look right here, he bumps into a woman's car. Well, it's more to the point, he didn't bump into her car. He rammed the Allspark right directly into the Cadillac emblem. Right into it. And the car came to life. So, you want to know what else is interesting too?
Nation? What?
Check out, here's the Orion.
Orion.
Which one are we looking at here? That's the Dipper. Which one are they showing here?
I'm not sure, actually.
The common era and progressing to the actual day, time, and dedication. The timing for creating this electrical chart, according to the artist, was that he believed that someday, soon enough, future civilizations would find their way here. And with no other means of communicating, might look upon this monument and determine the exact date on which the engineers and craftsmen of our culture lived.
Oh, so it's about aliens. This is about aliens.
So, it's about Orion. It's about aliens. And it's about Cadillac emblems. And it's about stars. And it's about... what? Vectors? It's about all kinds of different things, isn't it? Well, you know what's interesting? This guy has brought up here about the Cadillac emblem. The French particle in the name of Delémoth for the Cadillac emblem creator, or at least that's what he claims, is that he signed right here the name Jean de Mélenfant. Well, font, in you could tell, like as in infant, we take a lot of loan words from other Indo-European languages, and font means like a child. Do you remember the show, or the cartoon that was on? It was called I Pet Goat 2. And you saw that it had this one Helio font there for a reason. But you didn't ever really know why exactly it was done by Helio font, or what Helio font means, or that there is a god named Helios, and that Helios did have a son. The evil child, who is Heliofont's son. If indeed that whole thing is about opening up a doorway to bring in the evil child, then who would be the evil child? Well, that's what we're going to set out to find out. So I will be opening in with a bunch of stuff right here that you will probably want to know or need to know, and then we're going to get into some serious stuff in segments 2, 3, and 4. All right? Enjoy. But lest I forget, remember this. 2015, there was a change to the freaking the Cadillac emblem. All right? It went from having the wreath around it, where they took the wreath away. But did you ever look at any of the Cadillac logos from before? Did you ever look at them? Well, let's take a look. If you look here, this is the emblem that you see at the Hoover Dam. The wings and the pole star. And let me enlarge it for you. Look at the vector. You see the wings right here? You see this vector here, this vector here. How about this one here? Are you starting to see a pattern? You don't see a pattern yet, do you? Okay, well, let me show you something else that may just pique your interest. All right. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. See this right here? This is a crown. And it has 7, count them, 7 points on this crown. There's a reason why there's 7 points here. Okay, the number 7. And they're on every single one of them, and they don't change whatsoever. Okay? As a matter of fact, there is a time that it changed where they took the crown off. That means something. Okay? They don't just make a change for no reason. Now, they say that they took the wreath off in 2015. It was going to come off, and it did. But there's also another car maker in 2015 that changed their emblem around as well. And you will see who I'm talking about here. Let's see if we can find them. Here is the Alfa Romeo. And the Alfa Romeo, as you can see here, is the seal or the flag of Milan. And as you will notice here, you can see a serpent king. A serpent king. That's right. With a crown on top of his head. Now, Alfa Romeo in 2015 changed their logo just like Cadillac did as well. And it went from the 5-pointed star, see this? 5 points? Down to 3. Okay? There is a significance behind the number 3. And there is a significance where that 3 ties into Orion. There's a significance why this number 3 ties into the Nephilim. And there is a significance why it ties into Osiris. And you will start to see that all of this ties in together. So with that I'm done, and let's go.
This is it, the apocalypse.
finally, here we are. Here's the video that I told you was going to be coming out. Just a few things that I want to lay out here about all of this. All of the things that we're going to be talking about is going to encompass almost every topic that I've ever made a video about. Only thing that is not going to cover is the daily news shows that I was doing. Everything's going to get touched upon, I do believe, in this video. We're going to be talking about Sandy Hook a little bit. I know, that's what I was going to say. How does Sandy Hook play out into this video about the military-industrial complex? How does the Hoover Dam play out in all of this? How does the ancient gods play out in all of this? How does that cartoon thing, the Heliofont, the iPet Goat 2, how does it play a part in all of this? It does. And so much more. The octopus murders out of the Cabazon Indian Reservation. I've talked about it. It's going to play out in this video as well. Now, if you guys will recall, about a little over a month ago, a month and a half or so, I created a video about national monuments and uranium deposits that were found in these locations where these national monuments were put up by presidents. Take, for instance, President Clinton. The Grand Staircase Escalante in Utah. You're going to be needing uranium for whatever future energy purposes, and yet you're going to create a national monument right over where a huge deposit is? No, I think not. But hey, it's their story. Let's get down to the bottom of why they're doing what they're doing. Let's get down to the bottom of who was involved in the project to go scout out the uranium deposits. Let's scout out the corporations that are involved, that are pulling the strings of our politicians. Then we are going to have to go in deep, real deep. And there's people who have said, Doom, why don't you expose, the Zionists, the Jews that are pulling the strings, or the Jesuits that are pulling the strings? You know what? I'm going to tell you this. You guys are not thinking. You don't have your mind opened enough. You think it stops there. It goes beyond that. And we're going to go into the deepest recesses of who's pulling the strings, or what is pulling the strings. We're going to actually expose the logo that NASA uses all around the globe. NASA and other space agencies use a vector/chevron emblem in their space agency logos. People have wondered why that is. They wondered what it means. Who are they venerating? What's it all about? What is that emblem? Especially since you have Mr. Roddenberry from Star Trek using the exact same emblem in the Star Trek show. Well, you're going to have your answer today. Well, or in one of these segments anyway. And also we're going to be looking at the Cadillac logo. Why? Because, Cadillac logo has presented itself in clues and movies and light projection shows. And they put it there for a reason. Well, we are going to discover that reason today. So much stuff that we have to cover, and so little time to do it in. So this video, about a month and a half ago, I talked about these national monuments and how the uranium that Obama was talking about was going to be needed so badly for renewal or for these energy purposes, and yet he is creating not one, but two national monuments. One, a 500,000 acre national monument in New Mexico, and it sits right on top of a huge uranium deposit. Also, the Owyhee National Monument that is proposed, planned, slated to happen in Oregon, and it sits atop huge uranium deposits. As a matter of fact, the Hammond Ranch, or the Hammond owners in Diamond, right there in Harney County, they have huge amounts of uranium under their location as well. But how do we know this? How do we know that there is uranium in Oregon? How do we know? Because we know the agency the quasi-governmental agency that contracted with the national laboratories to go out into the United States and to discover those uranium deposits. But the problem is that the national laboratories that were involved in the project or the contract job with this quasi-governmental agency, well, there is a background to those national laboratories. Who they are, who they work for, who pulls their strings. And it is going to lead us into some very interesting places like the Denver International Airport. So there you have it. And there is one of the documents right there. Uranium One, a Russian-owned corporation that operates out of Canada, Toronto, Canada, came and visited with the Vail District of Oregon, asking them about the possibilities of mining uranium there. And let's take a look at that. That is also in this video. September 11th, Oregon Energy LLC, which is formerly Uranium One, met with local citizens and county state officials to discuss the possibility of mining uranium oxide yellowcake mine in southern Malheur County. Oregon Energy is interested in developing a 17-claim parcel of land known as the Aurora Project through an open pit mining method. Besides the mine, there would be a mill for processing. The claim area occupies 450 acres and is also referred to as the New U uranium claims. First off, about Harney County and Vail District. Harney County has a politician or a person there who goes by the title of judge. His name is Judge Steve Grasty. He is a high-ranking, or I should say a high initiate member of the Freemasons. He is also, of course, according to the websites right there out of Oregon, the Shriners are also a big thing right there for that area, and they have what they call the Malheur Cave Retreat once a year, where they go into this cave for initiation purposes or for for new members or to make it to their third level, Master Mason. So why is the whole cave thing so important? Well, this Malheur Cave right here was explored by individuals that were in the hire of the Freemasons back in the 1970s. I think it was 1972. The strange thing about that is, and you will find that in some of the links in my videos that I'm going to be leaving. I'm not going to show you everything. I'm just going to tell you, and you guys either you know about it or you can go see it for yourself in case you're seeing this information for the first time. 1972, these divers went down into the cave and they brought back artifacts that, well, let's just say that would lead someone to believe that some kind of giants of some sort were there and inhabited this cave at one time. And there is huge amounts of water. There's a waterway that leads deep into this cave. Now, the Freemasons confiscated those artifacts, and the divers never talked about it anymore after that. You would think, because there was information put out that there was a dive that took place in 2000, that they would have mentioned the dive that took place back in 1972, but that wasn't the case. Why? Well, it's because it was their intent, the Freemasons' intent, to scrub all of the information relating to that 1972 dive. But why? Well, it just so happens that there are a lot of stories that come from Native American medicine men and others that there were giants living here on this continent way, way, way back. Some of them have even been at war with them, where they have arrows, well, whatever, all kinds of different information regarding giants living in caves. So what exactly then does the Freemasons concern themselves with doing these cave ceremonies all around our nation, and you don't even know much about it, do you? Watch my video, and I talk about that there. So to me, it seems that surely then, if I know this, then I'm going to have to dive deeper into the whole Freemasons and their infatuation with giants. And that is also going to play a part here as well. So let us move on here a second. Let us jump here. So Harry Reid, he plays a part in this as well. As you can see, he was involved with the whole Cliven Bundy issue, and that's another interesting thing too. Is why were they so hot and heavy for Bunkerville location there in Nevada? Well, in this video right here, I show you that there are 11 uranium claims on BLM lands in Bunkerville. That's the location where Cliven Bundy standoff took place. Harry Reid was a major player in all of that situation as well. Harry Reid has come out after this Malheur Wildlife Refuge situation, and he comes out and says about that we need to take Gold Butte. Does Harry Reid have any kind of affiliation with some of the corporations that we're going to be taking a look at? I think you'll see it. You'll see it. And where did those 11 uranium claims come from on BLM land? Considering that a lot of ranchers around Cliven Bundy have given up the fight against these quasi-governmental agencies called the BLM, the Fish and Wildlife, the U.S. Forest Service, and they have pretty much sold out their livelihoods just to get away from the fight that they had brought against them by these agencies. Mr. Wayne Hage, he owned his land and was utilizing his rights on the first in line, first in time concept. What does that mean? That means that even though there is, you have rights that are unwritten, you still have those rights. Okay? No matter, it's just kind of like a God-given right, right? You don't need to, you don't have to have it written for you to exercise your God-given right. If I go to a premiere of a movie, let's say the newest Star Wars episode 841 comes out, and I'm standing in line, I'm the first person, and then there's a whole line that comes behind me. I'm the first in line. I'm the first there in time. As long as I keep standing my place in line, I will not lose that right. If I step out to go frickin', go to a Mickey D's or whatever, and I come back and I say, hey, I was here first. And they go, no, you left. You broke away from the line. That means you lose your right that you once had, that first in line, first in time. Well, that's what the governments are doing with these ranchers. Even though these ranchers have been utilizing that, you remember the line of the movie theater for episode 841? If you step out of line, but instead you have a family member stand in your place while you go, let's say you die, and they take over your spot, the right still stays with your family. Still stays with the person who you've handed the torch off to. These quasi-governmental agencies are coming in and taking people to court and costing them so much money that the ranchers are giving up the fight. I can't afford it anymore. I got to give in to them. I'm just going to sell my land. But hell, nobody wants any kind of encumbrances like this of what I'm going through. So they just end up selling what? They sell the land and their water rights to some nature conservative or Sierra Club or whoever the case may be. And guess what? The federal government that has been forcing their hand on you, they end up being the winners because, come on now, they know the game. They know that these ranchers are selling off their lands to these nature companies because no one else will buy any property where it is under attack by the federal government and these agencies. So, of course, they're getting the land handed right back to them as a donation from who? From these nature organizations. Sierra, Nature Conservative, ONDA. What does that tell you? Wake up and smell the seaweed, people. Tells you that they're working in collusion with each other, doesn't it? Because if the federal government wasn't getting any kind of outcome like they wanted, then they wouldn't be doing it or continue to do what they're doing. Because it would just be going to like a Sierra Club and, hey, there would be the owners. They would sell it to somebody else. So anyway, like I stated, that is the plan, that they are in collusion with each other, and these ranchers are losing their lands. Now you may ask, well, wait a minute. Okay, so what about Cliven Bundy's land? These 11 uranium claims, you have to ask yourself, how many claims were actually on private lands that the BLM had acquired after they had pushed people off of their land? You getting it now? When you see individuals like this right here, let me show you if it's on here, and it might not be, but that's okay because I have it here.
You found out through an internal memo that was within the Department of Interior, initially leaked, missing some pages. You found those missing pages. What about that has you concerned about the federal government trying to get its hands on some land out west?
That even though this government already owns 1 out of every 3 acres in America and disproportionately in the West, they still want to buy more land. They want to control private property around it. And
so the Department of Interior memo is leading him to believe, which would lead us to believe by watching this report, that the federal government could actually even own land, which it can't. Because even the BLM documents will tell you that you and I own these public lands, and that the quasi-governmental agencies, they, under authority by the federal government, exercise your right for you in common. What does that mean? That means like this. All of us own, let's say there was a big, huge pool in the middle of the United States. And there wasn't on any distinguishable land bar. So what they said is that every state owns it. But because we can't determine who's going to come and use this swimming pool here on any given day, we will run it, we will manage it, and we will set up all of the visitation days for this, blah, 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 whatever. That's how it works. So basically you have a manager company come in there and they manage the lands. That's what the BLM is supposed to be about. That's their name and that's what their title is. Land management. But you have other quasi-governmental agencies such as the Department of the Interior that gives directives to BLM, Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Forestry, to go out there and pretty much make everybody's life a living hell in the areas where they want the land. They make life difficult for you. You end up running off your land, and boom, they are the winners. But who are they winning it for? Does anybody want to know any of these type of questions? Who stands to benefit the most? Well, who stands to benefit off anything? Well, it sure isn't the federal government, because it seems strange. Doesn't it seem strange with all of the minerals that get sold out of these public lands that you own these lands, and all of the minerals that get sold, and yet we still have a government that keeps going trillions of dollars into debt. Can't seem to pay it, so it can't be benefiting them. Then the minerals that they lease off to these corporations that come in there and extract minerals under a leasable agreement, well, they only pay royalties to the federal government. But what about do they pay any bonds in case there's any kind of pollution issues afterward? Because there have been plenty of gold mines all around the United States that have been left completely polluted, and you as a taxpayer, oh, guess what? It's your land. When it benefits them, you own the land. But when it benefits you understand what I'm saying? You don't own it. Oh, we manage it. We own it. We want it. We want your stuff. We want it all. But as soon as there's a pollution issue with the gold mines and stuff, hey, folks, you know what? We need your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Why? Well, because this company came in on your land that you own, and now we got to clean up that mess. We got to clean that mess up. So we need your money. Do you understand how ludicrous this all sounds? Sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? Well, okay, let's take a look here. One last little piece we're going to look at here for our little opening preview. Her money, let's check it out.
Breaking tonight, Hillary Clinton under serious fire from the so-called right-wing conspiracy, including Newsweek, Reuters, and that bastion of conservatism, the New York Times. All doing follow-up work on the explosive new book, Clinton Cash, by Peter Schweitzer. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. It's a busy night. To her family's charitable foundation, for lucrative speaking engagements for her husband. In some cases, Mrs. Clinton's accused of covering up her behavior by failing to disclose the monies received. And today we learned that Clinton charities are now refiling 5 years' worth of tax returns after a Reuters review found errors in how they were reporting donations. Today, Mrs. Clinton's campaign spokesman responded saying, quote, "No one has produced a shred of evidence that Hillary Clinton ever took action as Secretary of State in order to support the interests of a circumstantial case. Exhibit A for Mrs. Clinton, uranium. You know, the stuff we use for nuclear energy and bombs? You might imagine it's a hot commodity. And guess who has a fair amount of it? We do, the United States of America. But thanks to a deal approved in part by Mrs. Clinton's State Department, we no longer control at least 1/5 of our capacity.
It is actually more.
Instead, the Russians do. That's uranium inside the United States, and its new owner is a Russian company called Uranium One that's owned by Russia's nuclear agency.
Hear that, folks? Uranium One. So, now interesting. Okay, think about this for a second. You have military industrial complexes here in the United States, corporations, that make money off of war. They make money off of war. And it would be in their best interest because they create nuclear weapons for the United States and whatever, that they would have a vested interest in the uranium here. And you wouldn't have something like this. And why do I say them? Well, because they are the ones pulling the strings of all the politicians here in the United States. There are secret societies that they work with that pull the strings right along with them. Then there are entities beyond the secret societies that pull their strings. And there is one entity that pulls the strings of them all. We'll get down to that too. So anyway, it is interesting to me that uranium has become the big, huge, hot topic. But it's only because we're a product of our times. If we were back in the day when it was all just about oil, do you remember back in the early 1900s when oil was not even, you didn't even talk about oil. Oil was not the hot commodity. No, kerosene for your lamps was the hot commodity. But oil was known about. Oil could be used. But they did not break off of kerosene until, what? That's right, until they extracted probably about as much money as they could, earnings-wise. And then they jump to the next mineral or the next energy source. And we're finding that they do that repeatedly over and over and over again. Because uranium started to become a pretty big thing, 3 Mile Island happens. Once that happens, then the whole uranium went bust. But who was involved in uranium, and did they benefit off it going bust? Well, we'll take a look at all of that. I do believe that 3 Mile Island was a manufactured event to stop the booming of uranium. When you have corporations that are all working in collusion together, give you an example. The auto industry works with the oil industry. The auto industry is not going to put a different engine in a vehicle that does not use oil in some kind of way or fashion, for its fuel, because they're working in collusion together with the oil industry. If the oil industry finds that there is a device that someone has created to put it on a vehicle and get 500 miles per gallon of gas, one of two things is going to happen to that person. Either he's going to become filthy rich but never sell his product, or he is going to wind up dead. But why? Is it all about the money? Of course it is. And they all work in collusion with each other. So with that, the whole uranium thing in the oil deal is that what I'm finding is that everybody who was involved in oil jumped to uranium. That's right. And they have a fallback, don't they? Exxon, Shell, Mobil, Standard, and all of these other corporations were involved in uranium. And of course, if they need it to stall for a reason, you create 3 Mile Island. It puts a whole big block on uranium for years and years and years. The boom is bust. They have their oil industries, their other industries, their weapons industry, selling weapons to countries. Whatever the case may be, they're involved, and they achieve a goal. Now, how do we know that that's the case? How do we know that it is all about stalling out the energy source? Let me show you something. So, let us take a look at the thorium, and you'll understand my... look at all of these tabs I had open. It was just killing my computer. That's what I had all of these tabs open when I started this video the other night, and some controller went out on my hard drive or something, and I had to end up redoing my whole computer. Anyway, so the USGS compiled a document listing its domestic thorium resources. Did you ever notice that a lot of these minerals are named after ancient gods? That's one of the other reasons why you're going to be seeing a huge piece in this presentation, or one of these segments, where we're going to be discussing the ancient gods. Thorium. How about some of the other ones? Uranium, or even plutonium. All named after planets or gods. Pretty sure you're going to understand that it's the gods. But anyway, the USGS compiled a document listing its domestic thorium resources. The metal is found in epigenetic vein deposits, low-grade deposits, black sand placer deposits. In its many locations, it is more abundant than uranium. It is safer than uranium. It burns hotter than uranium. So the same amount of thorium that you would use uranium, you would be able to power a lot more for a lot longer with thorium. Oh, but wait a minute. Why won't they make the big, huge push over to something that's safer and more abundant than uranium? Well, because it's not about doing the thing that is best, because they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They care about extracting the minerals for profit, and it's got to find its place in line. Once all of that can be fully utilized, then they'll move on to the next. And we know this because if we look here, let me go here. Sorry. Why aren't we using thorium in nuclear reactors? That was the question that was posed. The answer boils down to wartime politics. Well, I just showed you every freaking military-industrial complex and all of the financial corporate complexes, all of that stuff, Goldman Sachs, and then all the military ones, they make huge amounts of money off of wartime. And what is about wartime and uranium? Bombs, other type of different things like that, right? So wartime politics. So they do play a role in this one way or another. Thorium and uranium represent the heaviest naturally occurring elements on Earth. Both were named after ancient gods. Uranus was the principal Greek god of the sky, which would be Anu. Thor was the Norse and broadly Germanic god of thunder. There's a modern mythology surrounding thorium and uranium too, such as the currently very popular suggestion that thorium can replace uranium. Huh! Wow. You guys are not understanding it, are you? I saw that and I was like, you know what I asked myself when I seen this piece right here? I go, wait a minute. Hold on here a second. First of all, we're talking about mythology surrounding thorium and uranium. There is no mythology surrounding thorium and uranium. There is some mythology that is surrounding Thor and Uranus right now. There is that. And what is it? Well, once you discover who Thor is, And once you discover who Uranus is, well, then you will understand why they put this small little blurb into this article. Can Thor replace Uranus? That is the question. So, what are the chances that replacing the Greek god with the Germanic one? Really? A Greek god with a Germanic one, huh? Well, the Germanic here is Thor. So how could a Greek god be replacing the Germanic one when we're talking about Thor replacing the other? Would Thor take his powerful hammer and nail it all down? Not likely. There is a message right here, okay? But we will get to that message because we're going to be talking about all of the gods here very shortly. But I just wanted to show you how something was put in here. And if you have eyes to see, you can see what they're saying. If you can see it. So there's that. Oh, wait a minute. I think we were just there. Thorium, slightly radioactive metal that occurs in rocks and soils, may hold promise as replacement for uranium in the nuclear energy sector. Not likely. Thorium is a small sample of it packs 20 million times more energy than a similarly sized sample of coal, making it an ideal energy source. Charles Stevens, the CEO of Laser Power Systems, told Mashable that thorium engines won't be in cars anytime soon, but the reasons why should pique your interest. Cars are not our primary interest. But why not? The automakers don't want to buy them. Why not? Because the automakers are in collusion with the oil companies. That's why. And for those very reasons is why I told you that they move from energy source to energy source. A lot of the corporations we're going to about ready to dive into, these military industrial complexes, are in the energy business, but not just any energy, uranium. They are involved in the uranium business. Now, do you really think that they're going to make a huge change over to thorium when they already have a vested interest in uranium? Of course not. He said too much of the automobile industry is focused on making money off of gas engines. Well, they just gave you the clue right there. Making money off of gas engines. Well, they could make money off of any engine they put in there. It's a matter of what the gas companies and the oil companies are going to make off of the engines that the auto industry puts in there. Are you getting that? We're building this to power the rest of the world. Right, not the United States, because the United States is what? Yeah, they're focused on something completely different. He believes a thorium turbine about the size of an air conditioning unit could more provide cheap power for whole restaurants, hotels, office buildings, even small towns and areas of the world without electricity. At some point, thorium could power individual homes. So, now where do we go from here? Now that we already see that you can see all of the corporations here in the United States are in collusion with each other in one way or another. Let's take a look at this aspect of all of this. See, markets can be manipulated, or I could say the boom and the bust of a certain product can be manipulated with the right type of event. When you had these military industrial complex corporations that were involved in the energy business, but a completely different energy, like let's say oil or whatever energy, natural gas, they're all working in collusion together. So what they do is okay, we're not going to jump off into the uranium aspect of all of this until they plan on a year 2016, whatever, 2017. And they say, well, what we need to do is we need to make an event happen to curve the boom of a certain energy source. Boom, 3 Mile Island happens. 3 Mile Island happens, and all of a sudden, the whole plans of building mega uranium power generators all throughout the nation died in an instant. It made the fears go out to everybody that there was a potential of them being hurt by another reactor mishap like 3 Mile Island. Then all of a sudden, 2016 comes along. Oh, here's the big hype that we're much safer now. We know what we're doing. We have all of these. Even though what Japan happened in 2011, we have all of these new safeguards, all of this new technology, and it's going to be absolutely safe. We are going to switch to, instead of going off of uranium and go to thorium, let's put all of our money into creating a WR. What is that? It is a small uranium nuclear reactor that could be put together all in one piece and be sent by truck to wherever it needs to go. That's where they're sacking all of their money into, folks. Into creating a smaller, compact generator, rather than making the switch to thorium and making a better generator that can produce the heat that it needs for thorium, because it burns at a higher temperature. So it's a little bit harder to use thorium over uranium. But I'm saying the money could go into it rather than keeping with the uranium, and uranium is less safer. It could cause more accidents, and thorium doesn't seem to have those things going for it. So to me, that leads me to believe exactly what I've stated my opinion is. Now, let's take it. Whoops, hold on here a second. What did I do? So since we're on the topic of uranium, and in my video that I put out there about a month and a half ago, I showed you that there was a project called NUR, the National Uranium Resource Evaluation Project. The Department of Energy sponsored, and there's another quasi-governmental agency right there, actually contracting with national laboratories to go out and to scout the nation for its uranium deposits. So in 1979, uranium industry seminar that was held at Grand Junction's Two Rivers Plaza. The whole project was way before this, and you're going to see some of the information regarding this project right here. Now, as far as it comes to Oregon and the whole fact that we know there's uranium deposits all underneath Harney County, Malheur County, Grant County, and that's the reason why Obama is trying to create this Owyhee National Monument. There was uranium that was discovered there even long before the project NUR even came out. And as you can see right here from Oregon, the Oregon Minerals Geology Center, whatever it was called, they found uranium in Lake, Crook, and Harney counties on uranium. Certain areas that appear to have possible mineral significance or can furnish basic stratigraphic information from which reconnaissance mapping can be extended are examined in detail. That's where you talk about the other stuff. Then they get right here and they start talking about the uranium that was found. And here as well. There you saw the year, 1955. Uranium, here, 1955, marked the end of Oregon's being a have-not state for uranium. To John Rausch and Don Tracy of Lakeview goes the honor of finding the first commercial body of uranium ore in the state. The Lakeview Mining Company, 3 carloads of ore were shipped from the properties during the year to Salt Lake City, Utah, under an Atomic Energy Commission contract. So, numerous other occurrences of uranium were reported in the state during the summer and fall, and exploration work was started in some of the more promising areas. So, it was all promising, right? Well, basically, the only purchaser of the uranium was who? The federal government. They were using it for their military weapons grade, all that other stuff, and, powers for ships or whatever the case may be. And hey, as long as they had the federal government buying, then it was all gravy, right? So what changed? How did it go into, you had all of these big, huge corporations going into the uranium business when it was only the federal government that was the buyer? It's not the case, is it? Okay, here's what I find interesting about this. The guy who wrote the book about the killer, Hillary, the Clintons, and what was it, something cash, dirty cash? I can't remember what he titled it. Some of the connections between Uranium One and the Clinton Foundation were unearthed by Peter Schweitzer a former fellow at the right-leaning Hoover Institution. I found that interesting, especially when you see exactly what the Hoover Institution is all about. Now, here's what's so overly broad about the documents here when it relates to minerals and energy on BLM or any quasi-governmental agency's land that they're managing. Except where specifically withdrawn to protect resource values. Oh, wait a minute. So, this is about making money then. For who? Because the American public doesn't see any of the money, right? Look at the words carefully. Except where specifically withdrawn to protect resource values. Public land will be available for energy and mineral exploration and development subject to applicable federal and state laws and regulations. But guess who has discretionary authority over all of that? That's right. The head of the Department of the Interior. He has the final say. And the whole thing is the way that this is set up is for all of these minerals to be extracted. And you will not have one word to say about it, even though you own the land. Me and you together. We own it. We own it. And they have set it up where you aren't going to get nothing. As a matter of fact, you're going to have a lot of things taken away. So, Mr. Peter Schweitzer, we just saw, wrote a book about Hillary Clinton. Well, actually, the Clintons, period. Money. They were receiving money from the Russian government. Isn't it interesting who he was affiliated with? The Hoover Institute. Where is the Hoover Institute? What is it all about? Well, let's take a look at Sidney D. Drell. He is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, just like Peter Schweitzer was a senior fellow. And he was a professor of theoretical physics. And that is where? The Accelerator Laboratory of Stanford University. He is a member of JSON. You guys know what JSON is? A group of academic scientists who consult for the government on issues of national importance. A member of the governing boards of LANS and LLNS, the LLCs that currently manage the Los Alamos and Livermore National Laboratories. He has served as a member of the President's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board and on a number of advisory bodies to the Congress and intelligence community. Dr. Drell currently serves on the Hoover Institution's Schultz-Stevenson Task Force on Energy Policy. David Victor. Victor served as director of the Program on Energy and Sustainable Development at the International Studies at Stanford University. So, Mr. Schweitzer, huh? Member of the Hoover Institution, senior fellow. And he is got some pretty amazing company right here in Mr. Schultz, George Schultz, Mr. Bechtel Corporation, big time himself. And when I seen that, that is what led me into one of the, man, this has been one crazy road. Let me tell you, one crazy road. My mind is still reeling here. Plus, I'm sick. So, now you see that, right? You see the Stanford University. You're seeing the Schultz-Stevenson Task Force. You're seeing George Schultz. He is a member of, or was a member of the Bechtel Corporation. Okay, so you just saw Peter Schweitzer here just a little bit ago. He wrote the book on the Clintons and their money taking in from the Russian government in Uranium One. And let's take a look about the Hoover Institution and how it led me in my very first video that I took you back to a month and a half ago. When I saw the Hoover Institution and George Schultz, that's when a lot of things became more clearer to me than ever before. Lawrence Livermore and Los Alamos Labs. Well, Livermore National Laboratory was one of the laboratories that was involved in the exploration project for uranium, the NUR project. Lawrence Livermore. How about Oak Ridge Labs? Who is involved with Oak Ridge Labs? Who was running Oak Ridge? Even at the time the NUR project was going on. Once you see all of that, and once you know who George Shultz is, once you know about the Shultz-Stevenson Task Force on Energy Policy, when you start putting it all together with the Stanford University, once you start putting it all together, JSON Group, all of this stuff, when you put it all together, you are going to be taken down the road of, holy shit, Batman. So it was hard for me to believe that Peter Schweitzer would have even written a book exposing that, because of what exactly these people are involved in right here. Shultz, Stevenson, Lawrence Livermore. All of these individuals got dirt all the way up to their skirt. And Peter Schweitzer going to do that could have caused a big problem, right? Well, not unless, of course, it was done by design or planned. So let's go back and take a look at all of the players in the newer project, the national laboratories that went out there and scouted out the uranium for the Department of Energy. Then we will start going down the rabbit hole after rabbit hole. Texas is concerned that BLM is trying to take thousands and thousands of acres. It's going to only be one reason why they need all this land. 1990, the U.S. Geological Survey estimated that it meant undiscovered uranium endowment in Arizona. But, of course, that all had to be set aside. Well, because, the 3 Mile Island has caused a bust in uranium. Well, of course, until a later date. So this, of course, went on the back burner, right? Here is that program, and here are the national laboratories that were involved. Now I forgot what the acronym stands for again. God dang it. Whatever. You know what the hell I'm talking about. Here is the corporation right here that was putting all of the documents together, formulating all of this for the Department of Energy in their reports. Here, as you can see right here, near Geochemical Sample Archives, Transfer Reports, Martin Marietta Energy Systems, Oak Ridge Gaseous Diffusion Plant of Oak Ridge. And right here, Union Carbide Corporation, a nuclear division of Oak Ridge Gaseous Diffusion Plant, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Lawrence Livermore Laboratories, right? So, that's just two of them. That's two. Lawrence Livermore and Oak Ridge. There is Savannah, Los Alamos, and Savannah. Okay? So, take a look at Savannah here. Field Manual for Groundwater Reconnaissance, E.I. DuPont, de Nemours and Company, Savannah River Laboratory. You understand what that means, right? We're talking about DuPont, the same ones who bought Union Carbide. Union Carbide was attached with the other laboratory over there. So how did DuPont get into the uranium business? How did they get into the laboratory business? Los Alamos also has a story of its own. But I just want to take you back 1 second here, just for a moment. Just for one moment. And this is where it will get interesting. You see Martin Marietta right here? You guys know who Martin Marietta is, right? You know that Martin Marietta is also very involved with apocalyptic content. You don't know what I mean, do you? So, Denver International Airport back in the 90s had this dedication stone right here by the Freemasons. As you can see, it was perfectly clear that the Freemason compass and ruler were placed right here in the middle of the stone. And the capstone obviously had somebody engraving on it, right? Where is this New World Airport Commission? Where is this? The contributors to the New World Airport Commission that doesn't even exist. At least on paper, it doesn't. Martin Marietta Aeronautics. Who is Martin Marietta, and why is he involved in ownership of a laboratory that was out scouting for uranium for a project back in the 1970s and 80s? That's the question. Lockheed Martin Energy Systems, a subsidiary of Lockheed Martin Corporation, formerly Martin Marietta Energy Systems and Aeronautics and all the other bullshit. And involved with Westinghouse, and involved with Bechtel, and involved with Brookings Institution, and involved of all kinds of shit. See it? All of these Monsanto, Union Carbide, all of this stuff right here. See all this? They're all one big happy family. That's what this is all about. Okay? All I can tell, and I'm sorry I got over animated here. But if you have an airport that has murals that are so apocalyptic, involving the people here of the United States, way in advance, before it even happens, that tells you that they're involved in planning, right? So if Martin Marietta has his name on this dedication stone and he knows exactly what's there, why wouldn't you ask, hey, I don't want to be any part of these murals that are there. Take my name off there. Of course not. So I'm going to stop this off right here. This is segment number 1.